Well, let's talk now to Professor of International Law at Middlesex University in London, William Schabas. Thanks very much for being with us on the programme. Let's talk first then about Anas al-Sharif. Under international law, what justification can there be for deliberately, as Israel's admitted to doing, targeting him in an airstrike?
Well, if somebody is a combatant who is directly participating in hostilities, then you can target them. He obviously wasn't directly participating in hostilities, and I think that's probably enough to eliminate this altogether from the possibility that he would be a legitimate target. The other thing that I would say about it is that Israel has regularly murdered journalists in Gaza, in the West Bank, and they lie about it. So the account that they've given is not, I think we have to wait for the dust to settle before we give credence to the explanation that Israel has even provided.
Yeah, so as far as you can tell at this stage, any explanations, either from the Israeli government or from the IDF, effectively mean nothing, even if they have evidence that he is, as they put it, a Hamas operative.
Well, as I said, killing an armed conflict requires that the individual be directly participating in the hostilities, and that's clearly not what's going on here. So I think that that's out of the question anyway. But as I say, Israel has a pattern of murdering journalists and then lying about it, giving pretexts, giving explanations that later prove to be invalid. So I don't attach any significance to the explanation that they've given.
As you mentioned, string of incidents, but at the end of the day, at least in the short term, nothing actually happens, does it? There's no comeback, if you like.
Well, because Israel treats itself as being above the law. They have virtually no prosecutions within their own domestic legal system for war crimes, although there's so much evidence of these taking place in Gaza, but also in the West Bank and the occupied territory. And so, yeah, they're being held accountable, but by international institutions and to some extent by national courts who are prosecuting them. I think that recently some people were arrested in Belgium. Some former Israel Defense Force soldiers have been arrested there. But it's a difficult one, and Israel treats itself as being above the law and immune from any accountability, really.
And talking realistically, is there any way at this stage of speeding that up or ensuring that there is some kind of accountability in the short term rather than just potentially in the longer term?
Well, yes, there is, but it would require a considerable amount of political will by the powerful Western countries that are pretty loyal still to Israel. Now, that loyalty is starting to splinter a little bit. The calls in many countries, including the United Kingdom, Canada, and so on, to recognize Palestine. That hasn't happened yet, but the pledges are pretty determined, and I think that it's quite likely that's going to happen. But this is not going to be enough pressure on Israel. What really has to get at Israel is both depriving Israel of military assistance, of the arms that it needs to do pretty much everything that it does right now. It's absolutely dependent on the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, and so on for its military activity.
Let's talk as well about the Gaza plan. Benjamin Netanyahu saying on Friday that Israel intends to take control. Those are the words he used of Gaza City. It's still very unclear exactly what he means, isn't it? But is there any justification for that under international law?
No, there's not. And we've seen that this has been, in fact, a pattern since the conflict began in October of 2023 of constantly displacing the population within this tiny territory. And what they're going to do now is, in effect, to kettle most of the population in Gaza in a small part of this territory, which is tiny to begin with. And then we'll see what they do with the northern part of Gaza, which they intend to control. They've also indicated that they intend to repurpose that to bring settlers to northern Gaza and perhaps elsewhere. All of this, I think, is further evidence. This is going to be part of the evidence that will make the case for genocide at the International Court of Justice in the case that's been filed by South Africa.
And presumably, going back to the answers you were giving earlier on, if Israel does go ahead with this plan, and depending what kind of stage or sequence it's at, but is there anything that could be done to actually stop them?
Well, we could have a Security Council resolution, but that is going to meet with the veto of the United States of America. When you say, what could we do to stop them? Many countries could take measures that will slow them down. None of them, other than the United States, is really in a position to stop them. If the United States said stop, it would finish within 24 hours. But other countries are providing assistance, military, economic, and political, diplomatic assistance, and they need to take measures. They can all do, even if they're doing a little bit, they can all do a great deal more. And promising to recognize Palestine is a good step, but there are many more things that could be done, and that can be done without the opposition, even with the loyalty of the United States under Donald Trump to the regime in Israel.
William Schabas, good to talk to you on the programme today. Thank you very much, from Professor of International Law at Middlesex University in London.